Welcome to another episode of RELICS Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have. RELICS Radio is also now syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. You're listening to RELICS Radio of Southern Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. And you are listening live again to RELICS Radio. Well, you're listening live if you're on the Spreaker app on November the 14th, 2019. But we know that not everybody can listen to the show live. You may be catching this on our syndicated show on the Cutting Edge Radio Network, or you may be catching an archive either here on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast. We're there. I am your host, Digging with Seven.
And I'm your co-host, Tennessee Jeff. How's it going, Seven?
Warmed up a little bit today. Would you believe what it get down to, 12 or 13 degrees night before last?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, 12 or 13. It got real cold.
Yeah, I wouldn't give a nickel's bit of difference between 12 and 13, but my heat went out. And
are you kidding me?
Yeah, went out about 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. We were sitting downstairs. Of course, it's already dark at that time. And here's the thing about it: I had one of the servicemen come out about 3 weeks ago, and he worked on it, and he said everything was good, you know. And then it did the same thing that it did 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so I called them, and they said, well, they won't be back in until 7 o'clock in the morning. And I said, dadgum. But
good.
I did watch what he did that night or that day whenever he came. And so I did the same thing and just kept fiddling with it. And I got it on. I got us through the night. And then he came today, and I guess he's got it going because it's warm and toasty. Of course, it's warm outside. You know, it ain't 12 degrees anymore.
That's right. You know, when of course, I have a fireplace now, and our heat went out a couple of years ago, and we had the fireplace. It doesn't real good, but back when I was living the bachelor life, my heat went out, and of course, I done what every other redneck does. I just turned the stove on and opened the door, and I mean, it kept that little 900 square foot apartment pretty warm. So.
Yeah, but it cost $10,000 probably, I guess, didn't it?
Well, I don't remember, but it probably did. So.
But you're right, and back when we had wood stoves, we'd wait until, like if it's going to get 12 at night, we'd wait till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon to go cut a load of wood and put in the stove, you know.
And you always try to save the biggest log right before you go to bed. Well, let's save this log for...
Yeah, that's an all-nighter right there.
A little bit in the morning, so... Yep,
it is. But I haven't hunted this week, and I've sat around and worked with, I had to stay here today. I was actually going to go get in the water today, but didn't get an offer. Yeah, I was going to do that today. This morning at 9:30 was scheduled.
I hope you mean you was going to take a bath.
No,
I hope you weren't going to get Dale Hollow Lake at this time.
I was fixing to get in the water, and then couldn't do it, you know, because the serviceman was coming. But anyway, haven't done anything almost all week, maybe Monday, I guess, just a little bit. But then get a call this afternoon from Ron Reed, and they're wanting to go to Spring Hill. And I told him, I said, dadgum you, I said, you could have called at any other time. But me and Raina are leaving in the morning. We're going to go to the Smoky Mountains tomorrow and Saturday because it's her birthday. And she's just 149 years old, so...
No, we lost you. Well, tell her happy birthday.
Did you lose me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you for a second, but you're back now. So
okay, everything's looking good on this end right here, but we might ought to get into the show. We might get cut short here tonight or something other. Anyway, go ahead and bring our guest on there, Jeff.
Well, our guest tonight, I mean, he's pretty much everybody knows him on Facebook. He's a good friend of ours, Gregg Papallo. How you doing, Greg?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's great to have you.
It's our honor, buddy.
Yeah. We've been looking forward to this show. How long has this show been booked? We've known that we were going to have you for a while, but I can't remember how long.
Probably, I mean, it's almost halfway through the phase of the event. So about 4 or 5 months ago, I spoke with Mark about it, and I said, I wanted to be on your show first, because yours is the one that I try to catch the most when I'm off from work, or listen to when I get home.
Well, we appreciate that, don't we, Jeff? And that's Jeff on that end that keeps losing everything. Yeah.
Yeah. We lost Jeff.
Is that me on the?
Yeah, it's you that keeps dropping out. I don't know what it is. Did you plug up an Ethernet, or did you just run an extension cord over?
No, I've got the Ethernet cord plugged up. So
okay, well, maybe we'll get it going then. Go ahead and kick us off there, Jeff. If you want to, while we can hear you.
Yeah. Well, Greg, kind of just about you. What sparked your interest in metal detecting?
Well, this goes back to when I grew up in Connecticut, and I got one of those, those Radio Shack metal detectors, and I had read a book, in school, and I was like, let me get one of those metal detectors and try it out. Of course, we dug up in the yard. The only target we found, it was a humongous piece of, I don't know if it was sewer pipe. It wasn't connected to anything. So then I was like, this thing's not going to work. And I ended up selling it to another kid in the neighborhood for $20. And that was the last of it until I moved to Florida. I moved to Florida in 1999. I didn't get into metal detecting until a few years later, but until I got up here to Gainesville. And then I was reading another story. I think I was reading something about the Knights of the Golden Circle and the Masons. And there's a little bit of history around this area, the lost gold that came off of a train. So that sparked my interest, and came across the local dealer and bought my, technically it's really my first true metal detector that I actually kept, but, it's not really my first, but it was a white, I think a Prism 5. And I didn't know whether I wanted to do Relic or Beach, so we went on vacation, and I hit the beach with it for a little bit, and actually found a silver toe ring, but I realized that, that machine really wasn't for the beach. But and then I started doing, co-workers' properties. They had some old homes, and I did my own yard, got a few wheat pennies. And then over time, I graduated to another detector. A couple years later, excuse me, got the AT Pro, and I had that for about 6 years or so. And then started the club that we have here locally, the Gainesville Metal Detecting Club. We have guys that water hunt, guys that, relic hunt, guys that, kind of cherry pick for coins at parks and stuff like that. But
what were some of your best finds that you've found so far?
Let's see. When I went to the first, one of my first organized hunts, I had my only found large scent, and that was about 2009. And I thought somebody had planted it, but but my favorite find was actually here from town. My hunt partner is a police officer, my buddy Joe, and he works at the community college. And the site that the college is on, and everybody in our club, and anybody that comes to Gainesville to our meetings, or I have people that come from out of town, they want to go hunt somewhere, they're visiting family, I'll usually take them there. But the park is actually, or the college rather, is probably encompasses, close to 1,000 acres, give or take, and there's apartment buildings popping up in other areas, but that whole side before you get to I-75, the interstate, was all owned by this one family, and they donated all the property that the college is on was donated by the family. And there was one field that was like closer to the main road, the main county road, and there used to be an old cracker house out there, and they finally tore it down. And after I met a few people and realized, oh, you can metal detect there, and he's like, yeah, as long as you fill your holes. And then him and I, we've hunted over the last 4 years, maybe 5 years now. But everybody goes there, and I found probably all my best finds were just from that field alone. And I want to say, excuse me, I had found give you a little backstory, where he had his police cruiser out in the middle of the field because it was getting dark, and the AT Pro doesn't have a backlight. So, he was like, we're standing there talking. I do a lot of talking. Sometimes I do more talking than detecting, but that's me. Anybody who knows me, I can talk for hours on history and metal detecting and stories or whatever. But he's like, well, you're going to dig something? So he puts the headlights on, and I'm going around this field, and I mean, we're like way out in the field because everybody always concentrated to around where the house was. And, and I get a real choppy signal.
Hello.
Signal. And I pulled it up, and I thought it was a drawer pull. Like the plate that goes around like a dresser or a chest. Well, he pulled out his police flashlight. We're looking at it, and I could see stars and the head of an eagle. So I said, all right, clean this off. He didn't talk to me for a couple of days because he was mad after he saw what I posted on the photo. But it ended up being an 1870s officer's belt plate, just the center part, without the frame. It was folded over like it probably got stepped on by some of the farm animals, I guess, at some point, or maybe a horse. So, but that's actually, I donated that to a museum. A friend of mine came down, and he lives up in Pennsylvania. And I said, that time I was just trying to clear out stuff. And even though it was my favorite find, I was like, it's not doing any justice sitting in my cabinet. I said, he goes, and he donates a lot of stuff to the museum up by where he lives. And I was like, hey, can you take this up there? And when you get it there, take a picture for me. And, in there it says, found in Gainesville, Florida, and it had my name, and it was in a case, and it was pretty cool. Because I'm in Florida, this piece is now in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Don't know the story behind it. And then I found a Confederate three-ringer the same day the TV station came out to do a story on our group, and we had like a meet and greet. People came from like Orlando, some other people I had never met, and we kind of just hunted the field, but that was the day I found the Confederate three-ringer, and it was a pistol bullet. Not sure what kind, but I have pictures on there somewhere, either Instagram or it's on Facebook somewhere in my catalog of detecting. I had my little folder there. But anything related to like Civil War, because I was a big history buff in middle school and high school. I wish I had known the history behind like New England, and there's a few people that I got to meet while traveling back to Connecticut to see family and stuff, like Dave Wise, and because he's actually lives in my hometown, and he's the guy that has like the 14 or 15 George Washington buttons. He
is a great hunter. I tell you what, Dave Wise.
Oh yeah, he took time out of his day on his lunch break because I was running all over the place, and he was on his lunch break, and I was like, hey, I'll meet you. Meet at this particular park that was close to his work, and got a photo out, and I was like, it's great to meet you. I said, too bad I didn't meet you like 10, 15 years ago. We could be like the Three Amigos out here in the woods, because up there they have a little bit more leniency as far as where they can go, and Florida.
There's just so much territory up there, just so much open wilderness and everything, and
I remember
so much history there too.
I remember going through old towns, and I was into the whole ghost thing too, and looking for old cemeteries, and a lot of backstory behind that. But a lot of those places, you go in the woods, and the cemetery is like 1652, and there's like literally a rock wall for like 5 miles down that road, and into the woods. And it's like, back then I wasn't thinking of, the paranormal, or not the paranormal, but metal detecting. And, now I'm like, man, I wish I got into it sooner, and, but I'm kind of making up for it. But my thing is really relic, and, I like coins too, but, I always like, even the silliest thing, you get a date on it, and you don't know what the item is, and a lot of people in our club are real good about, we've got a few people that work with historical societies, and, our group's getting kind of branching out to different areas, and, excuse me, and trying to help people where we can, help some of these groups in their small towns. Some of these small towns, their museums rely on, donations of fines or your time just to go in there and help, man the building, so to speak. So,
yeah. Hey guys, we need to take a break here real quick and run a commercial, and we'll be right back. We are very excited to announce that Calico Metal Detectors is now the major sponsor of RELICS Radio. Calico Metal Detectors has provided customers with the best metal detectors and accessories for over 60 years, and they offer the largest selection and best deals on metal detectors guaranteed. Calico Metal Detectors features only the very best of treasure hunting equipment that'll help you find coins, rings, jewelry, and relics both on land and underwater. From gold pans to metal detectors, they carry the hottest selling products on the market. And Calico is just a phone call away, before, during, or after the purchase. You can call them at 855-246-2586 or visit the website at www.calicodetectors.com. And we are an affiliate with Calico, and so if you've got detector needs, call them and be sure and tell them that you heard about it on RELICS Radio. And we've cut in and out, or you guys have cut in and out once or twice. Don't know what's wrong. I mean, everything looks good on this end right here, but maybe a little snafu with Skype. It would have to be Skype because everything else is running off a different server and everything. But have I got?
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I believe it's Skype. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try to stand still because I tend to. It was funny. I just wrote in the chat. I see people were asking about my hunt and some other stuff, and I'm not in the chat like I normally would be. So because I'm busy walking back and forth in my kitchen to the living room because I always do that when I talk on the phone. So I'll have to make sure I stay stationary.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, we're losing you in one of them hollers in your house somewhere there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you've got a lot of history in the area there where you live, and when you and I were talking back earlier in the week or last week, you were talking about the possibility and probably even the probability that De Soto, the Spanish explorer, being in and around your area, right?
He pretty much went from one side of Florida up. I mean, they actually have a route that he took for the most part, but I've come across some stuff during research and so forth that just south of here he went through like where the Payne's Prairie is and everything. Just south of us here, there's a big prairie down there, and just north of us. And it seems like, there's a lot of old roads that obviously some of them are no longer in existence. Some other ones are, just dirt roads still, but, they don't go anywhere like they used to, But there's definitely a good chance. Well, I know I wouldn't say like in my neck of the woods, so to speak, right here, maybe on the other side of town or, maybe on one part of the county. But definitely, close to where, in the general vicinity of where Florida Hunt 6 is going to be, there's a lot of history. So, yeah, look forward to later in the show, given this is always my hype point. I hear that music in the back of my head.
Yeah, and guys, we are going to get to Florida Hunt 6 later in the show, but there were some other things that we wanted to talk about. And, there was a great big Spanish occupation all down in the deep south right there. I just wonder why that there aren't more relics. You've got the Treasure Coast. You've got all of that in the Keys up the eastern coast of Florida. Why isn't more stuff found on land there than it is?
Well, I can tell you one of the probably biggest deciding factors. And I've run into this, through my part-time job, how I get most of my permissions. A lot of people, if the state finds out that you have like an old Indian canoe, I had a customer who had a lake on his property, and he was working on painting something, his fence, and part of the canoe was popping out of the water. And I said something about metal detecting, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want anybody to come out there because I don't want no one to know where I live." Because then you'll see if there's a guy that I follow on YouTube and on Facebook. He goes to a lot of the state parks and a lot of these places that are state property. A lot of the detecting is down here is if it's not private property, you got to jump through hoops. If you're, it varies from county to county. So where one county is just south of here, you go to their website, you print out a permit, and you can detect the city parks in that county. Here, you can't. In the counties and state parks in my county, Latrobe County, you can't. But, we have conflicting reports about the city of Gainesville, where I'm at. But I've had police officers come up and say, "Hey, what did you find? Anything good?" I've had city workers come up and say, "Hey, back at the back corner of this property here, there used to be a house that burned down in 1905. I've never been, had any problems other than, like if you're on private property and there's no one living there and, you have permission, but the person that owns the property isn't on the property. That's why I usually try to have the people at least in the vicinity, or if they live on the property, I try to go there when they're there, so I don't run into any problems. But a lot of the stuff, like a lot of the cemeteries, you'll see a lot of the old ghost towns are just sucked up into these state forests, and you can't dig, and there's just this, animosity between like archaeologists and detectorists, and I know that's all over the country. And you hear about it all, and in other countries as well. But here, we have an archaeologist, and he's a history teacher in our club. We look forward to working with him on some stuff in the future. He's trying to work with us on some old fort sites and stuff, trying to get us out there, and we'll help them catalog everything as it's found. And it's just that's one of the big things. And a lot of the old homes now, big companies buy property, and then they demolish all the old buildings. And case in point, those of you coming to Florida Hunt 6, if you come into Gainesville and you stop off at Archer Road and you go to that Starbucks, that's like on this big old patch of land, that used to be a farm from the 1800s, and I always tried to get permission. But then, like, the homeless people took over, and they were all living on, still had old silos, an old barn, an old house, but, had a no trespassing sign, but, the homeless people, they'll just stay wherever. Problem was, then they must have sold it at one point because there was a for sale sign up, and then they leveled it. And before I realized it was done so fast, that it was gone, leveled. This dirt was brought in. They put, they went over whatever the original dirt was with probably 3 to 4 feet of clay sand to hard pack it to pave it over.
Man, and all that history is gone. And then they wouldn't give you permission to go save that history. And so we run it. Well, of course, I'm sure everybody that's in the chat or everybody that metal detects runs into that problem. There was a guy, of course, the little community that I live in. We have a lot of old pioneer forts, and of course, most of it belongs to the state of Tennessee now. But there was a guy, he owned a big spot of land right across the road from that, and I'd ask him numerous times to metal detect, and he's like, no. And then next thing you know, they built a mini storages on that property, and all street. It could have been nothing there, but most likely there were, and all of the history was gone. So,
yep.
It's that way. It's that way everywhere, though. Where people are, the progress and building and everything, and as fast as construction goes up now, if you have an opportunity to go to a place, and that's what Ron Reed was telling me, that they're going to do some stuff around this spot where we were going to go and detect. And I guarantee you, it won't be but a month or two until that'll be off limits. It'll be completely, whatever they're going to do, it'll be done, won't it, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, it'll be gone. And, of course, that's the same way with the construction site we hit and found so many Civil War relics.
Yeah.
It was... luckily, we got permission to hunt it, and the construction supervisor, he was like, yeah, go ahead. And I just wished every construction supervisor was that way.
Oh, he was good to us. There's no doubt about it. Hey,
he really was. Greg?
Go ahead.
Greg, what kind? If someone's come down your way to metal detect, what could they expect to find in your area?
In the general vicinity, I mean, everything from the Civil War, because we had the Battle of Gainesville, depending on a lot of old coins. Like most of the stuff on my YouTube, I'm doing old homesteads, an old house or something. I've got a couple old watch fobs and got some. You'll get old jewelry. You get a lot of kids' toys. But I mean, as far as anything, I mean, coins are mostly everybody around here loves the coins. But me, like I said, I like an old lantern part. If I get a patent date, then I'll spend 2-3 hours on the internet trying to scour what this part came off of. But just a little bit of everything. I mean, you got the beaches too. So if you come to where I'm at, I'm literally an hour from either coast. So you can go west coast, Gulf of Mexico, and you got all the fishing city. The small little towns along the coast, and then you got the east coast. You got your big beaches from Jacksonville all the way down. And St. Augustine. Going back to why we're not finding a lot of Spanish stuff. See there. Whenever they do construction, and I learned this by going to one of the museums there, city has an archaeologist on the payroll. Any kind of construction that is done when it first starts, and if anything that might be old is found, they actually found right outside where there's a new museum. I don't know if it's actually a Mel Fisher. It's one that they had down south, but they put one up here, and I can't remember if it was a pirate museum or what it is, but they actually found a 15th century sword scabbard, or that goes over. Not answering that phone call. I don't know who's calling in. Sorry, bad time to call into my phone. But they had the archaeologist had to come out, had to look at the item, and then they had to catalog it, take pictures. Then because they still have a lot of. That's the oldest, I believe, the oldest city in the United States that still has. That was all occupied by, I believe, the Spanish, the French, Americans, and my honeymoon was in St. Augustine. Our first trip was in St. Augustine. I haven't been there in probably over a year, but I know it's changed quite a bit. But definitely want to go back there. But they recently found, probably within the last year, they were doing some road work, and they pulled up the old cobblestone roads, and they found people were buried under the road.
Goodness gracious!
They found some skeleton remains, and it dating back to I forget when it was, but somebody always shares it, and I always try to share it to Mark's page, Adventures in History. Usually, any kind of old story, especially with the water droughts. Sometimes stuff's coming up out of the water. They found that boat off the coast of North Carolina. I guess I forget what kind of boat it was, but it was up on the beach, I guess. You never know what you're going to find. Like my last hunt, Florida hunt 4, because 5 was, we do it out of sequence. 4 was mine, and we were pulling stuff from the turn of the early 1800s to 1900s. But the whole general area where we were at, it was all period stuff. Somebody actually found a musket part. We thought it was a drawer pull, like the actual handle, and Brian did some research, and it had a stamp on it, and it had R for Rhode Island and something else, and it came back from the original 13 colonies, because there was a botanist, Bartram, when they have trails throughout the county, the Bartram Trail, and when he came to Alachua County, that's why he chose for those areas to be settled, because of all the trees and the wildlife, and it was a good place to, I guess, to raise a family or to pop, and it was close to the so-called trains that they were running a train line, and at that time that was profitable, and it actually came off a musket from, who knows, it could have been from one of his soldiers that was maybe one of his bodyguards, because the trigger frame itself, or the trigger guard, dated back to 1775. He actually won Find of the Month, I believe, for Garrett. How they have the monthly, or Find of the Quarter or whatever it is. They'll send you some cool prizes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he won that. That was probably one of the awesome. And there was a bunch of half dimes and some of these coins, and there was buttons found because it was an old mill on the site. But yeah, so it's, you never know. I mean, I've dug in a 1918 house in the historic district down here. It was most of them are all bed and breakfast now, and my first hole at that house about 7 years ago was, I thought it was a lid to a jar or something, and I flip it over and it says Washington D.C. on it, and it was made out of pot metal, and it probably was coated with some other, but it was a token. The thing was the size of a mason jar lid. It had a buffalo on one side, and it was like Lucky Nickel or something. It was huge. It was the first target of that house. I detected that yard for 5 years. And every time we went there, we pulled out all kinds of Cracker Jack. No silver coins, believe it or not. In 5 years, not one silver coin.
Huh. We need to take another commercial break, but you mentioned something earlier, and then we're going to get into the Florida hunt stuff when we come back. But you mentioned something about Cracker Jack houses, and I've heard that term before. I'm going to ask you what that is when we come back. You know, T-shirts are a perfect way to get your brand recognized, whether you're talking about a business, a club, a sports team, your YouTube channel, or whatever. But you may have asked, where can I get quality, affordable shirts on demand? Well, I'm glad you asked. RELICS Radio uses DetectTees.com for all of our T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, and hoodies. That's DetectTees.com. Ken and Mark Guthrie make quality shirts that last, they ship quick, and best of all, they're affordable. So if you need customized apparel, then go to DetectTees.com and be sure and tell them that RELICS Radio sent you. And by the way, guys, it's getting cool, and those Detect Tees hoodies, those RELICS Radio hoodies will really, really be warm and very comfortable. So go and check them out, DetectTees.com. Tell them that RELICS Radio sent you. Hey, Greg, what do you guys mean down there in Florida when you talk? And the other times that I've heard it, it's been someone who lives in Florida. When you talk about a Cracker Jack house,
it's like the architectural style of the period, going back to like the early like what they call the 19th century, 1800s. Some people still use the style of home today. Basically, it's a wood frame house with a metal roof. But it refers to, when they say Florida Cracker, and it refers, it's like from colonial settlers till like the early 1900s. Mostly, the English pioneers that came here prior to it really getting a boom. But mainly the house, it's just the architectural style of the house. But it's like metal roof, and they have raised floors. The homes are usually up on some kind of block.
Huh.
So you get up underneath them, and a lot of times when you metal detect Florida Cracker homes or homes that are raised up, you'll always hear all the old timers down here say, "Oh, you need to look under that house," because they would put they didn't believe in banks and they didn't trust them, so they would always put their money in mason jars and put it under. They would they'd have a loose floorboard, and they would just put it below the house so they knew where it was when they could get it.
Huh.
So yeah, when those homes get demolished. And if if you have access to it, a lot of times, I mean, obviously, those, you get a whole jar full of coins, you're going to get one heck of a pop, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Right. Yeah. Seven, do you know where any of the Cracker Jack houses are?
I live in one.
I was wondering what you was doing with all your money.
I ain't got none. They sure ain't up under the floorboards of my house because I don't have no floorboards. And if I put them up under the house at the lake, it's in the bottom of Dale Hollow Lake. Now, I've just heard the term, and I didn't know what it was. And that's interesting. Thank you for explaining that to us. Go ahead.
And I ain't going to lie, I've had to actually look up the official term before.
Okay.
But, yeah, I was familiar with it because we get a lot of people that come into my part-time job, want paint, and a lot of them were I have an old Cracker-style house. So you have to know, okay, you're a raised floorboards, you probably have a metal roof, and it's lap siding, wood building structure.
Well, that's everything.
But I still see them around here.
Now, that's everything here in rural Kentucky and Tennessee, ain't it, Jeff?
It sure is. It really is.
Hey, go ahead
and
then,
of course, the internet's the same way.
Yeah.
Old and slow.
Yeah.
Greg, I was going to ask you, what detector what detectors have you used, and which detector do you use now?
Okay, I started out with the Weiss Prism 5 back in the day, probably 16 years or so. Then I got an AT Pro, and I had that for 6, 7, 8 years maybe. And then I got an AT Max when that came out, and I got rid of my Pro because the wife was like, "Hey, listen, you got too many metal detectors, you're not using them all." So I got rid of the Prism. That was just sitting in the closet. My daughter never got into metal detecting, so and then I sold the AT Pro with an extra coil and stuff, so I could pay off the Max. And then of course the story of the Equinox came out, and I ended up getting an Equinox. I had to barter with my wife because she wanted a computer for school. So I said, "Hey, price of that computer, price of the Equinox, they equal out." So.
Well, you know that rule number 7 is that you can never have too many metal detectors. You tell your wife.
I have to build a secret room or something. But no, I've just got those 2 now.
Yeah.
And I've used them both. And Equinox took a little bit of a learning curve. I don't know how many times I watched those videos. I can't think of her name right now.
Yeah,
my tongue.
Yeah, we had her on the show. Yeah. She does a great job on all those.
Yeah,
videos.
I must have watched them over and over, and she makes it. They're only 2-3 minutes long, and you learn. Boom.
Yep. And
those are my weapons of choice.
And now the Simplex Plus is coming out, so you're going to have to either sell something or you're going to have to hide something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to seeing them at the hunt because I know a few people that are part of the whole. Nokta's. I guess their nomad group. They're how every detector company has like their group of people that are out there, promoting their brand. So I know at least 1 or 2 that may be coming that are for Nokta. So it'll be interesting to see those in action. And I know Carolyn's coming from Calico, so she's going to be up there. She's I don't want to let anything out the bag yet, but she's going to have some extra detectors for the folks out there that when we're going out for Florida Hunt 6. So it'll be interesting.
Good deal. Greg, how did you become a part of the Florida Hunt?
Now, this goes back because it wasn't originally called the Florida Hunt. I think I took over and used the term Florida Hunt when I did 3. The first 2 were just TreasureNet only from the website, the forum board TreasureNet, which is still in use today, but not many people use it because so many people have other social media ways to stay in contact with one another, whether it's, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I've got it on everything, and Facebook, obviously. But the guy that was running it up in the Panhandle, Bobby, it was like the Florida Gathering. I forget, it was the TreasureNet, TNet. They had another hunt they would do out west, but I never went to that one. It was like on a wagon trail out in Texas or somewhere, or Oklahoma. But every year they would bounce back and forth between the 2 hunts. And then I started working at Home Depot, and then I got this chance to talk to a customer who lived off one of the old rivers here, and had, we were talking about the history of the property, and I was like, it'd be cool to do a metal detecting event out there. They had like 120 acres. It was an RV park on the top half, and the other half was like little cabins along the water and primitive campsites, And we had about 40 people show up for that hunt, and then that became Florida Hunt 3. And then Florida Hunt, he didn't do another one, or if he did, it wasn't in Florida. And I did Florida Hunt 4 like a year and change later, and then he had 5. That was on the burner for like a year, and then it was canceled. Then it was rekindled. So I didn't want to use Florida Hunt 5 for my next one, but I had something in the works. So I had Florida Hunt 6. The page was set up while 5 hadn't even happened yet. So people were kind of getting confused, and he runs his one way and I run mine, similar but a little bit different in the same token.
And you guys are calling this Florida Hunt 6 the Freedom Hunt. Why is that?
You want me to let the cat out the bag already? No. Because it's a non-profit. Yeah. Okay. You gave me the drum roll. You threw the ball in my court. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So it's going to be called the Freedom Hunt because, drum roll, please. There's a non-profit. I ran into yet again another customer of mine at Home Depot. And I wear a veteran's badge at work, and we were talking, and, he thanked me for my service, and I thanked him because I saw he had a shirt on, and I was like, well, what's Soldier Freedom Outdoors? And I asked him, and he's like, well, he's the owner and president of Camp Freedom. And what it is it's a farm, it's a working farm, so to speak. They have cattle and horses, but veterans go there every weekend. It's on approximately 300 plus acres. But, some of it's not accessible because part of it has a lake. But I know there's only like less than 300 that's actually accessible by vehicle or foot. They have fishing tournaments out there. They have they're doing a 5K walk and run to raise money. But what it is, they're out there. The veterans come and spend time with them, help, heal their wounds. A lot of them have physical wounds. A lot of them have, emotional wounds, and a lot of times sitting by the water, sitting by the dock of the bay, wasting time. You know that song? It's relaxing, and I've known them for over a year now. And then I did a thing for my birthday, and they thanked me, and I said, I want to run this by you, and I ran it by the president. Everybody on their board, it was either military or family that's served in the military. We even have a local radio personnel that's recently joined up on their team, board of directors or whatever you want to call it. They could call it something else, but there's one lady in there particular that there was a SEAL team mission. Her husband was part of, I believe, of SEAL Team 10, and he died, I believe, in 2005. So she's on the board. I mean, I've only met the president because he lives out in that area. A lot of the other folks come out for some of the bigger. They have a couple, black tie events out there, like where you wear your cowboy boots, cowboy hat, and a black and a tie. They're always trying to raise money to do things for the veterans, and and it's a great thing. And what better way to raise money than would be to to help that organization to further, because the place out there does need a little work here and there. There's some stuff they're always asking for volunteers to repair stuff, and my home, my part-time job, we've donated some stuff and given them some supplies out there. I can't do it all, so
right.
What better way to raise money? And the history of that area, because it's basically, let me pull up something here. It's basically in between Keystone Heights and Melrose, Florida. It's closer to Melrose. It actually has a Melrose address. So, but like I said, going back, I call it the Freedom Hunt because it's called Camp Freedom. Just to to kind of round that off. I didn't know if you want me to go into details about the area or anything. So,
yeah, tell us the history about Camp Freedom. Yeah,
like I said, it sits on. I'm going to see if I can get the exact dimensions here. Hang on one second, but it's about 300 plus. So, of course, now my computer doesn't want to work. We have Cox cable, and it's lovely. That's why if I thought it might have been my phone. Oh, excuse me. All right.
No, I just had to reset everything on mine, and I think I've got it working now. So, but yeah, I was losing you guys a lot earlier. So,
every once in a while it'll chime out, but they actually have a physical address of Melrose. But like if you ever mail them anything, it goes to Hawthorne. Ironically enough, that's where my other hunt was, and it's only like 30 to 35 minutes from Gainesville. So I know a lot of folks that I told, people who had asked, and they're friends of mine. I said, listen, you can either stay in Jacksonville and head south, or you can go stay in Gainesville and you'll be heading, kind of northeast, and so I'm just waiting. Oh, my internet tells me that website. Okay. Anyway, it's about 300 acres, give or take, out there on the property. They've got a couple houses that the veterans stay in. They're like a cottage. They've got a dock they've got their own lake out there stocked with fish. During hunting season, which is now, that's why it's been hard for me to actually go back up there and get some real good photos. I've got a handful of photos that I'm going to post up on the page later on tonight. I'm putting a little reveal video together of a lot of the historical factors. And actually, any of you guys are into music or know that Gainesville, Bo Diddley. Anybody know who? You guys know who Bo Diddley is, right?
I do. Yeah, I know Bo Diddley. I grew up with Bo Diddley.
He actually lives about just south of the hunt location on a farm. He did. So, he's from that area. So you never know. And you'll see in a lot of the historical photos, the people of Melrose love the woods. And the property that this sits on, there might not have, nothing that I can tell in my research so far and that other people have done for me, the historical folks, there wasn't any old structures on there. But it's in direct path of, we had the Battle of Gainesville. It was one of the small skirmishes, next to Olustee, which was bigger up towards Lake City, going up, up north Florida. But when they were coming through Palatka, they would have come straight down through here. And from what the research is showing us, that the 4th Massachusetts had camped not too far from there, but he did name the lake, and I've got to look that up. But because there's so many little lakes that are named after people and families, ironically enough, Melrose is known for its Indian mounds. The Indians, and this goes back to your DeSoto question.
Yeah.
The actual Melrose was where there was there was some Indians. Let me pull up the actual. I don't want to pull up their.
I tell you what. While you're doing that, we've got another commercial break that we have to take, and then we'll pick that up as soon as this is over. Then. If you want to keep up with what's going on in the metal detecting world, then you need to be a subscriber to American Digger magazine. Butch and Anita Holcomb are the publishers of the magazine and have won awards for 3 straight years for being the best digger magazine on the market. American Digger magazine is available in both print and digital formats, so no matter where you live in the world, you can enjoy the latest happenings in the hobby. You can get in touch with American Digger magazine by going to americandigger.com or give them a call at 770-362-8671. And be sure and tell them that you heard it on RELICS Radio. And by the way, guys, I am the producer and one of the co-hosts on American Digger Magazine's Relic Roundup every Monday night with Butch Holcomb and Jeff Lubert. And we're on Monday night at 9 o'clock. Here tonight, we're talking to Gregg Papallo. He is the organizer of the Florida Hunt 6, better known as the Freedom Hunt, because it is being held on Camp Freedom. And we're revealing all of that tonight and their services to the veterans that we appreciate so much. And it's very timely that this show would come out this week because we had Veterans Day on Monday, as you know. And we got a lot of veterans in the chat here and that listen to the show. And so we certainly want to thank you for your service. And Greg, what a wonderful way to reach out to these veterans through this hunt and through Camp Freedom.
Oh, excuse me. Whew, you caught me mid-cough there. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I mean, I've been out there and I took a ride around. It's so peaceful out there. I mean, there's the actual city of Melrose actually has 74 historic homes in their district. Their historic district encompasses 250 acres. I drove through there last week, and it was like when we were driving through, and some of the homes, 2-story homes are very rare in Florida, so it's got to be, turn of the century. Every once in a while you'll hear someone has a 2-story home, but most Florida homes, are 1 floor. But going back to where I was going to look up the name of the Indian. This is dating back when DeSoto was coming through Florida. There was an Indian by the name of I'm gonna butcher this guy's name. It was the chief of the town of Vitachuco. It was near Melrose. It was close to Santa Fe Lake, which is right the next little hop and skip. It's like a 10-minute ride. But they met in Melrose. They had set to meet DeSoto. In 1539, they were to meet him, and they were supposed to. What they told DeSoto was that they were gonna, you can come stay with us in the town. We're going to do this. We're going to have feasts. We're going to have, and what it was he was actually setting DeSoto up for an ambush. And somebody got word of it at a prison camp, and the word got to DeSoto, and he brought 12 of his biggest, bodyguards, I guess, so to speak, and they battled for like 3, I think it was like the battle went on for quite some time, but didn't go the Indians' way. But this was literally, in the town of Melrose. Now, mind you, it's the actual battle site. I do know the location, but it's not on our hunt site. But it's probably protected land anyway. It's definitely private, I'm sure, from what I've looked at so far. But just the history. I mean, now that's going back to 1539. That was even before, Melrose originated, I believe, 1822. Florida's original highway, the Bellamy Road, which ran from Tallahassee to, I want to say St. Augustine. It used to be a dirt road, but now Melrose, the main road of Melrose at the intersection of 21 and State Road, I forget what it is, but it's the main road of Melrose is actually part of that Bellamy Road. That road still has dirt roads to this day. You go out to rural parts of, it encompasses 4 different counties, too. So that road goes through all these different counties, and some of it, is still the way it was. I mean, I drove down one. I was literally, I wasn't in a small car, but the dirt mound was literally above my. I felt like I was driving through an open-ended tunnel, like with no top. I mean, the dirt road was a hard-packed road, and that's part of the old Bellamy Road. Those guys that were working, they probably camped off on the side of the road on some of these old farms, and I know one of the guys I worked with he was the first one who told me about Bellamy Road. And I got real excited when I saw that Bellamy Road ran through, Melrose. So that gave more history to that area. But Melrose really started around 1822. And then I think it was 1830-something.
Yeah, but the history goes back much further than that because of the old road coming through there. And down where Jeff lives is the old Avery Trace comes through there. And you don't have to get off of that road far, do you, Jeff? And you're going to find some old colonial houses there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look for creeks or if you know where a spring is, I mean, you're going to find a colonial house. And I'm sure the same way with your road. If you find the water source, you're going to find good relics. And you were mentioning the battle they had. Well, pretty much if we had a battle like that here, then nobody would let you hunt it. But a year later, it would be under a Walmart. So, I mean, that goes back to earlier, like we was talking about. Well, why don't they let us save the relics? But anyway, talk about Florida Hunt 6 and talk about the dates, and times, and events.
Okay. All right. So the date for the event is February 8th, obviously 2020. There is a Facebook page. We put a cap on it at around 200 people, only because that's what he wanted. I mean, because right now, logistically wise, I'm trying to figure out parking out right now. That's why I'm going there this weekend to see if we're going to have people carpool in, because somebody said for DIV they had 3 people per car, so that might save up, because I don't want to park in one of his fields, and then that field be the field that has, relics in it, because he has 3 or 4 really big fields that are probably 40 acres apiece, if not more. And then he's got all the trails that go through the property. The event it's a 1-day event. It's just for that Saturday. And if you're on the page, which I'm going to be I wrote in the chat that I'm going to be adding a few more folks. I'm just trying to look at some of the folks that are wanting to get on the page and if they're actually really going to come there or not. So it's $30, which I don't take. None of the money comes to me. We're going to have a meet and greet probably here in Gainesville at the community college that my hunt partner works at, because they have large classrooms, and we usually have our club meetings there as well. So we'll be able to have there, and if people want to pay that night and then get their wristbands so they don't have to wait around Saturday morning, we're going to have a couple tables set up to have everybody for registration. The property owner is going to have his own volunteers that'll help make sure people don't wander off into somebody else's property, because, you start walking down these trails, you don't know where the property lines are. I mean, he has a lot of fencing. When you get out some of the fields, like we drove, I mean, we were in his truck. We were 4-wheeling through some of these old trails that were there. He said they were there before he lived there, and from what he knew from the property owner, these were original trails. They weren't. Now he's making more trails. He's bush hogging a lot of the brush, so in turn that may make get more areas accessible that wouldn't have been otherwise. They're gonna have food for sale there. You can go down in the town of Melrose. I mean, there's a pizza place, a burger place. There's a really good seafood restaurant. If you go to look up Melrose on Wikipedia, they're actually on their Wikipedia. I forget. It's called Blue something. But my wife and I ate there one night. It was really good if you're into seafood. Sunday, so I know some people were going to stay Sunday around town. I may have a little something planned for Sunday, but it has nothing to do with, it would be something that wouldn't cost anybody anything. It might be a field or two that I might be able to get us access to, but nothing concrete. But I know some folks, I've told a few folks that were traveling from out of state that if you were staying around until Sunday, I said I may have a place that we can go to dating back to the 1800s, but, it's not written in stone. But I just want to, and then some of the folks were leaving like the next morning, so they couldn't go. So, but I will have that more info. Obviously that'll be more solid, and talked about at the meet and greet on that Friday. Obviously we'll get to the field Saturday. I'm hoping for around 7. It'll probably still be a little dark because it gets lighter earlier, it gets darker earlier. So, and we'll probably go to dusk to dawn or dawn to dusk. Until he kicks us off. But he may even let us say, you got flashlights, who knows? If he's,
that'd be
never
something.
know. People, because he was really cool about it. And what there is they're going to have vets out there. And what I'm going to do is the veterans that are out there that are signed up for this event are going to be teamed up either with a veteran that's a detectorist or someone that has the patience that could work with somebody to kind of, teach, give them kind of the learn the ropes a little bit. And most of our guys all have 2 to 3 detectors, but Carolyn was nice enough. Originally, she was going to bring like 20, and I'm like, no, his things are more intimate. He usually has anywhere from 6 to 8 veterans on a weekend. Sometimes they'll have women retreat. Sometimes they'll have they have people of all ages and ranks. The last one he had, it was like 5 people, but they're out there riding the horses, and it's so peaceful out there. Out in the country. And just the ride there alone is fairly peaceful. You go through about 3 ghost towns to get there. If you people pay attention to the signs on our way out, on the way, 74, there's 74 homes in the historic district. Now, I'm not saying everybody go bombard them for door knocking, but we do have a couple locals from the area that, may know a few people, but, I just ask that people, don't harass the locals too much. Because in the event that we ever try to do another event, or if this one really pans out and people are finding really cool stuff, because my hunts are all natural. I don't plan anything. My last hunt was really successful, Florida Hunt 4, when we were out there in Hawthorne, and people were pulling out half dimes, half dollar. Everything, a lot of people don't understand, a lot of these towns are so rural and disconnected from, the bigger towns. They got one street light. They got a Dollar General where they get their groceries unless they drive 30 miles into Gainesville or towards Jacksonville, where they got to do it on a weekend. But most of these places, they got small little stores. I'm going to have a lot of photos I'm going to be taking over building up to the event where people can see, the area. And if anybody in the chat is local and has a drone, I've been asking friends on Facebook, I need a drone because I wanted to do a drone video. Go over the property with a drone. That would save me a little bit of foot traffic time. But it's an amazing sight. Some of the trees, and we learned from the trees in Hawthorne, were very similar. And these trees, I don't know what it is about these trees, but people love to sit under them. These things are so big at the base, and they've got some age to them. And back then, that would have been the place to take, and you'll see in my reveal video later this week, I have a lot of old video I got from the University of Florida, footage of photos, and almost every family outing is in the middle of the woods in Melrose.
Well,
and you know what happens?
Yeah, it's the shade there, and what you were fixing to say, I guess, is they lose stuff, don't they?
Exactly. And you look at the way they're dressed, and I have one picture I was looking at, and I had to zoom it in because I wanted to see how many items I could identify in that photo. They're having like a picnic, and I mean, they had pots, they had stuff on a fire with, like everything from iron items, and somebody, and these were some of the well-to-do families from Melrose, so they probably had silver in their pockets or a silver pocket watch,
Yep.
So, but it's this is, I don't know, something near my heart for, because my era veteran, I mean, I never had to go overseas or anything. I was in a reserve unit back home. I was doing it to go to college, and Desert Storm happened, and unfortunately we were undermanned, so we ended up going down south to Virginia for a few weeks to help get troops ready to go over during the first Gulf War. But a lot of these guys today, man, they're losing limbs, and emotionally, PTSD killed, 22 veterans. That's a big movement. I have a friend of mine that I'm hoping that will come to the event. He's a YouTuber, and he's known as the push-up guy. I went to high school with him, and we reconnected, and he actually lives just north of Melrose in Middleburg. So I'm hoping that I can get him to come out there for the event. But he does 22 push-ups a day, on his YouTube video, and he does like a little promotional, he has like a little motivational, not a promotional, but a motivational speech that he does, and it's just something that, I feel needs to be, they need to be taken care of. Our Vietnam vets, when they came back, I grew up around the Vietnam vets and hearing their stories about, when they came home. So it's, just my way of giving back. I'm not rich, so I can't, break out a checkbook and there, here's $1 million, like some, if I won the lotto now, yeah, I'd definitely be donating a lot if I won the lotto. That's for sure. Because that's just my feeling on it. But I feel as though this organization, and I'm hoping that my company, my part-time job, will price match me on my donations.
Yeah.
So if they, we have 200 people right now. I think we have 181. I know he said around 200, but I've got a few people that I've recently got to take off because there was another hunt going on at the time of the hunt, or at the same time. So I had like 7 or 8 people. So I've added a couple. Like my buddy Smith out there in Mississippi, him and his wife, they're on YouTube. I met them through YouTube. Yeah. They're going to come out to the hunt. They're coming out from all the way from Mississippi. I know Barb's coming from North Carolina. Hopefully she's still making it. And I believe Allison Walker from Canada, I know she was on the page, and I'm hoping she was going to be down here for something else, so I wasn't sure if she was going to make it, but we got people coming from all over.
Yep.
My last hunt was the same way. I had people from the Carolinas, Georgia, North Carolina, Texas. It was the last hunt, where I got to see one of my buddies before he passed away. But okay, Barb, I see. I'm kind of looking at chat.
Yeah.
I can't talk and type at the same time, but I just see Barb right to see it coming.
Hey,
it's hard to do, Greg.
Yeah, it is, and we've opened up the phone lines. And Denny tried to call in, and I think I hit the wrong button, Denny. So call back in, and we will add you in this. But the number is 270-495-0315. We're talking to Gregg Papallo about Florida Hunt 6, the Freedom Hunt. And here's...
Heard it here first.
Yep, you heard it here first. And it is not going to let me add Denny into the call that way. Go ahead and hang up, Denny. I'm going to call you, and we'll see if that works then. I don't know why this is... it's not letting me add you in.
Put Denny's number in the chat and where everybody can call him.
Where everybody can call him. Well, I'm calling you, Denny, and so when you get there, you go ahead and answer it. Are you there? Nope. Unable to add. I have no idea why why Skype is doing that tonight at all. So don't know.
Well, it's been acting stupid for me too. So I mean, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
So how much is the hunt, Greg?
It's $30.
$30. Well, hey, you can't beat that at all.
No, and then they're gonna have, like I said, they're gonna have volunteers out there.
We got you on, Denny. Just hang on for just a minute and let Greg finish his thought, and then we'll pull you on. Okay?
Sure.
They he's gonna also have, I believe, burgers, hot dogs, and pulled pork with a drink for like $7 or something. So, but like I said, there's a burger place a few miles down the road. There's like a supermarket. So if anybody wanted to get snacks and bring a cooler, usually that's what I do. But if he's got some, I'll tell you what, the amount of barbecuing this man does, if he's got pulled pork sandwiches, I'll probably be eating a couple of those for sure too. I like my food when I'm out there. I tend to not pay attention, and I overwork myself, and then I'm like dehydrated and starving because I don't want to stop hunting.
Yeah, that's what that's what right. Barb said. Barb said, "Bring your lunch and just stay and hunt all day." And I guarantee you, that's what she'll do. Hey, Denny. Oh yeah. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I just want to tell Greg that he had a good point there about the metal detecting community coming in. I know at CWPPO, a hunt we used to have here in Ohio, some folks would come from all over the nation to that hunt and start knocking on doors. And it got so bad that the people said, please tell the people not to knock on our doors. We really don't want them hunting our property. So that's something you want to watch out for, because and you mentioned that, and I think it's a great idea, and you might mention that to the folks when they get there.
Yeah, and that'll be discussed about, obviously filling in your holes in on Friday night at the meet and greet, but because we did have some issues of people not filling them in correctly when we were on an old church site, but luckily a bunch of us got together and kind of made it look pretty again, because this person wasn't used to, obviously, relic hunting. He was a beach hunter. So, yeah, it looked like somebody had dropped a couple, 40-millimeter grenades out of a grenade launcher, or a mortar round hit. I was like, and this is like a 125-year-old church. I mean, granted, the side of it wasn't that great, but still, it's something that reflects on me as a host.
Right.
So, and everybody knows that's come to my last too. I'm keen to detail, and there'll be a lot of stuff that I'm going to be posting on the page. Everybody, I recommend bringing radios. We're going to have frequent radio channels up. And then obviously he's going to have volunteers, and they'll have their own radios as well. Because, 200, almost 300 acres, you're going to wander. Now, they do have horses out there, and the cows. I've never detected with horses and cows, but I've seen people do it. But I'm pretty sure they'll probably be corralled off somewhere. But I know, and I had told him when I spoke with him today, saying, I said, hey, let me know if anybody calls you, because one of the big problems, and it happens everywhere, and I normally do not announce my location this early, only because of the fact, again, it was after Veterans Day, and I really wanted to hope that some, smaller companies, if anybody, we're trying to look for, donations kind of for prizes, because I'm doing this for myself. This isn't like my club. My club is helping me. My club they're going to be there hunting like you guys, but really this is my hunt. The Florida hunt is me, really. And I have always put these on, and now it's gotten harder for some of the larger companies to donate unless you spend, you have to spend money to get prizes, buy a detector, and then they'll send you like 5. I've got almost 100, and I think it's like 182, 100 or something around there. I've got to take a few people off and add some people, but it's around. I know I have a max of 200, so, last hunt it took us 3 hours to give out everything. We had so much. But what I'm going to probably do, too, is I may say just everybody to bring like a coin for a door prize, and you'll get a ticket. You're going to have a wristband to be on the property, and you'll have a ticket. And then the ticket, I know Kelly Coe and Carolyn, God bless her soul, she's awesome, and she's, stepped up, and her and Kelly Coe are going to help me. I don't know to what extent, but I know they're putting something together for me. And I've got a couple I know Dwight with Nocta, and he was reaching out to them, dialecting them, and they were going to maybe do something for us. But my hunts are never known for like extravagant, $5,000 worth, buried coins and all kinds of stuff. Again, my hunts are natural. I was just lucky my 2 hunts where I got a decent amount of people and support. But I guess times change, and people burn a bridge, and then we all have to pay the price essentially. So now,
hey Greg,
I can't afford to spend $600-700. On several detectors, to give out, but If I won the lotto, I'd do it, but,
Yeah.
Hey, Greg, have everybody bring a Indian head penny that they have found.
Oh, yeah.
I know where you're going, Denny.
Yeah.
That leaves one person out.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, the place that I hunted last wasn't. It was in the direction, because I kind of stay in my county. Once in a while I'll go out. I do on my YouTube. I do a lot of historical videos too. Like I'll go to like an old museum or something. But the last coin I found detecting was an Indian head. That was the first one I'd ever found, because my wife would always buy them on Amazon for me. She'd always buy me like little coin bags, like they put random coins in. You're guaranteed to have a coin from this time. And I always get tons of Indian head pennies. But Barb, I got my fingers crossed, Barb, that an Indian head penny can be found on this property. You never know, because people. There's a couple guys. The first find at the Florida Hunt 4. We were on one side. Excuse me. We were on one side of the property, and everybody was pulling out Indian head pennies, like literally 3 of them, and two out of the 3 had never found one before. So, Barb, I'm counting on you. You're going to pull an Indian head out of there. Again, you got to. It's in the books, man. It's in the cards.
I sure hope she does. I hope she goes in there and just pulls out 100 of them, and then get Denny to tuck his tail between his legs and run off and shut up.
I actually found a large scent at 2 feet at DIV this time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I never saw one that was rusted, and this one was rusted. It was crazy.
Counterfeit.
Well, that soil's bad up there, I know. Isn't it, like, really highly mineralized?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
One of our club members goes every year now. Well, not every year. He's gone, like, he just came back. He was at the last one. He found, and he was trying to explain it to people, because people were, like, asking about it. And, that's one of my bucket list things, but, of course, I'd have to now get a pulse machine now to even detect up there because of the soil, but... I would go just for the experience. I wouldn't even want to detect. I'd be too busy shooting video and taking photos.
Well, Greg, a while ago you were talking about, that you didn't have the money to have a lot of prizes and everything. This is a $30 entry fee hunt, folks, and it is it's a natural hunt as well. And so, you never know what you're going to find. And Jason, I got the same problem with you. I can't add you on this. I will go ahead and hang up, and I will call you, and I'll add you in. Evidently, we're going to have to redo Skype. Something's wrong with it tonight as far as taking calls. But you go ahead and hang up, Jason, and I'll call you back. Go ahead, guys. I just
want to say, Loy, before I leave, Greg, this is a great thing you're doing for the veterans, and I hope everything goes well for you.
Thank you, sir.
I'll leave now, Loy. Thanks for the invite.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it, Denny. Thank you for the call.
Good call, Denny.
Bye now.
I'm trying to add Jason in.
Yeah, sometimes those software updates, if you don't update it, a lot of times they don't work right.
I've got Jason in now, I believe. Are you there, Jason?
I'm here, man.
Okay, good. It worked.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's good to be back listening to you guys live. I've been out and away for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Have you listened to most of this program here tonight then? We're talking to Greg with the Florida Hunt 6.
Yes, sir. I've been listening all night. I've been really excited about the hunt. I just wanted to ask a quick question.
Sure.
Sure.
Barb said something about packing a lunch. Is that something we need to do, Greg, or is there a decent place to eat close by?
There's a burger place. There's a pizza place. Within a 5. On the weekends. This is like one of those towns. Like everybody's out on their porch. It's a small town with a couple major roads going through. But there's a burger place, a pizza place. There's a good seafood place, but it's going to cost you. Or like I said, you can if you're coming and you're staying obviously in Gainesville. There's 1,000,001 places you can get something to pack and then bring in a cooler. But right now, as we're looking at it, he's going to have either hamburgers, hot dogs, and pulled pork, or some kind of barbecue there with a sandwich and a drink for like $7 or something. And I didn't even have to push him on that. Yeah, he did it on his own. So because that was one of my main concerns. Like, man, we're going to be out here in the sticks, and everybody's going to be packing lunches. But no, it's not something. I mean, if you're on the page, which are you on the group page?
I am.
Okay. Now, which Jason is this?
Smith.
Oh, hey, buddy. Okay. I almost want to say that was, because there's another Jason on there as well. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot here. And depending, I don't know if you guys are flying in or driving, because I know you're coming from Mississippi, so.
It's a 6.5-hour drive. We're going to drive it.
Oh, that's not bad. So, I mean, if you're staying here, and then are you going to stay overnight and go Sunday morning, or?
We're planning on coming in Friday night and maybe coming home
cool.
Sunday.
Yeah. There's plenty of places. I mean, there's a lot of little hotels, motels. I mean, anybody can ask me, and I'll tell you where not to stay. I've got people staying in Airbnbs. That's like the big thing now, because we're a college town, and it's football. Well, it's coming into football season won't be here anymore, but the next sport will be. But Airbnbs are a big thing around here now. Obviously, I mean, there's other hotels, but there's also hotels going in the direction of Melrose, but there's nothing per se. Now, I've tried to look online. There are a couple things, but when I tried to click on links, they didn't work. So I don't know if those, there was like a bed and breakfast out there, but I couldn't get the link to work. But that's probably going to be expensive. And then a lot of the homes are on the water, so you're going to be paying, there's a lot of homes for sale out there. When I drove down by the lake, it was like every other house was for sale. So, I don't know. But, you should be fine to have a place to get something to eat. If not, you can find me, because I'm definitely going to have some food. I got to eat. So, I'll take care of you.
Hey, guys, Barb is trying to call in, and we cannot merge tonight, Barb, for some reason. So you put in chat, or you call in from your home phone or your mobile phone. I've got 2 phones here for you. Just put it in the chat, and you don't have to put your number. Just say home or mobile, and I will call you right back and add you into this real quick. I call Barb.
I'm going to let you guys go.
Okay, Jason. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Jason. You know the month will be here.
Yeah.
But, I'll be having a lot of stuff coming on the page now, probably on a weekly basis. So
I'll be looking forward to it.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, Jason.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And we are calling Barb right now. I suspect that she's going to answer, that I've got the, Barb's on. What's going on tonight, Barb?
Well, hello, Barb.
I'm looking forward to the hunt. I haven't been to Florida in a while, and Denny wanted to know how I get so much time off. Well, I don't. I don't. I just take time off whether I have vacation time or not.
There you go. That'll work.
That's why I always plan it so far out, so people can have either a sickness planned or they can build up their time off.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have a day left over after digging in Virginia, and of course I'll gain next week I'll have another day. So, I mean, I'm already covered. But to make something clear, I have found an Indian head penny. I found 2, to be exact. One with the date, out a date. It's just that.
Yeah.
And I have had a bet going. It'll be 2 years in January or February on who will find an Indian head penny first. So this is like a really long time bet going on, and neither one of us have found one since we made the bet.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping.
We didn't read the fine print.
No.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you find one before you get down to Florida, but especially when you get to Florida, I'm hoping you are. And hey, guys, just a quick note: Barb is going to be our guest on Thanksgiving night, and as most of you know, she handled the kids' Christmas giveaway thing last year. Very, very successful, and so we're going to have her on Thanksgiving night, and she's going to be talking about that. So we appreciate you agreeing to come on the show and talk about that, Barb, and really looking forward to having you on.
All right, but I'm looking forward to the hunt. I've lived in Florida for many years, and it's going to be fun. That many acres, but I'm going to tell you what.
Yeah.
If they're going to have food trucks there or whatever, just plan on eating there. You can go into town at night, because if you get out there and you start finding stuff, you're not going to want to leave.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just simple. I mean, I pack a lunch. I pack my waters, snacks. When you're going to go out and hunt from daylight to dusk, it's better just to have that plan. And if you don't need a $2 sandwich you brought, and you eat barbecue off the truck or whatever, but if you hit a good spot, you're going to wish you had that sandwich and chips with you.
That's exactly right. Here's a rule, fellas and ladies. Do not walk away from relics. Do not walk away from them, because that's bad mojo. And if you go and get you a sandwich and then you come back, the relics are gone.
That's right. And, of course, I've been to several DIVs, and I've never went to the lunch, maybe one time. And, of course, I mean, I go there to find relics. I don't go there to eat. I mean, I can eat any time. I mean, when the hunt's done, I can eat. But I go there to find relics, and then that's normally when I find the better relics is when everybody else is at lunch. So,
yeah, it's
true. It's just, lunch is one of those things. Not having such a great day, I need to, meet up with people and see if I need to go to a better place. But if I'm finding relics, I don't care if they're wheat pennies, preferably Indians, or half-cent or something I haven't found. But if you're hitting things, especially like, I forget what they're called, they're sketch-ons off of dressers and things like that, you're in a good spot. Don't leave, Sit down, eat your lunch, and get back at it.
Because that's what happened at Florida Hunt 4. Somebody found the home site, found a couple items, they left, then everybody gravitated to the other side of the lake, the other side of the creek.
Yep.
Yeah.
Word gets out. Yeah. It sure does. And I remember a couple of years ago, Barb, on the third day, me and Jeff were up on New York Hill, and there was no way I was going to walk down that and eat a sandwich and then try to walk all the way back up. We just stayed there. But you pretty well have, whenever you get into a spot and you start finding things, stay there. Take you some water with you. You ain't going to starve to death before dusk.
That's it. And, have a little nap pack. Don't overpack it backpack so it's heavy. Put 2 waters and some snacks and a sandwich, and you can throw one of those little cold packs in with your sandwich if it's got mayo, and it'll be fine. And that way, if you are finding stuff, just stay.
Yep.
Barb, Jenny said don't sit on an anthill either.
I lived in Florida long enough that I know the dangers of Florida. But in one of my DIV videos, it was at Fair Oaks, the first hunt, and I'm on a hill pulling fire, not percussion caps, the friction primers, and case shot, and you name it. And 3 times during my video, I'm like, yep, I'm still trying to get over there to that car for lunch, because I left it in a cooler, and I was there for hours before I finally, okay, I haven't found anything in 30 minutes. I'm now going to go to lunch, so.
I don't
we'll have radios. So if people have, the FRS family radios, we'll have a channel designated, and then we'll have, an emergency channel. People can call each other on the other channels or whatever, but, that worked really well, at the last hunt. It wasn't as big of a property as this, but this is Florida. It's all flat, so there are a couple little inclines, man-made little, some people call it hills, and I laugh because they're nothing like a hill, but it's mostly flat, so the radios go fairly far. We should have no problem.
Denny just put, I saw a lady carrying a cooler with water at a hunt this past week. Right, Barb? Yep, that was me. Driver dropped us off at Coles Hill, pretty far from camp, and I unloaded my cooler with my lunch and my snacks, put it under a tree. The bad thing is when I had to walk with it all the way back to camp, but for the time that I was out there, I was real happy to have that cooler next to me. I ate my lunch there and, kept digging.
Yep, and that's the way you have to do it. I mean, you kind of got to rough it, and when you have a hunt that's got a lot of acreage, and then you park in one spot, you're going to have to walk. And I have always found that, if you think you're going to walk, don't do all your hunting right there around the car, although sometimes that's where everything is found because everybody wants to walk the furthest. But I like to walk where I'm going to walk and then work my way back. Now, that may not be the best policy, but that's kind of what I do.
We literally had, at Florida Hunt 4, we literally had the cars parked like on one side of this field. And we were all sitting in our chairs, and then I think it was Ken from Central Florida. I can't think of his last name.
Harrington?
Yeah, he walked. No, wait, maybe it wasn't him. No, it was one of the Steve Meeks from Kellyco. He literally walks out like 10, 15 feet. He's over by these trees because I said all these trees out here because there was a fenced-in cemetery dating back to the mid-1800s that was off bounds. But there was a road that led right in front of it, and like 8 different silver coins were found in front of that road, on that road. But he literally walked like 10, 15 feet from the car by a tree and pulled out like this half dime, or it was crazy. Yeah. I mean, the coins, like I said, the coins there were like 4 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches buttons, because these are areas that they get forgotten. A lot of these old little towns, they were unincorporated now. I mean, there's at least 3 on the way from Gainesville to there. You'll pass by 3 different well-known ghost towns in Florida. But again, going to door knocking, going back to what Dennis said, when you'll see a lot of do not trespass, do not solicit. Some of these ghost towns are a little sketchy, and you don't want to go knocking on the door because you'll hear banjos in the back.
Hey, that's the places me and Loy hit. That's the places we love.
Well, we're right at home if there's a bunch of old junk cars out in the yard with Christmas lights on them.
Oh, yeah. We'll walk up with a big chew of tobacco in our mouth, and then we'll fit right along with them.
It sounds like it's going to... Go ahead, Barb.
And you find relics in places you least expect it at, Glebe Farm, the first hunt there. Some guy turned on his detector at the very last truck. Everybody's parked in a row on both sides of the road, and he was the only person that turned his detector on. Everybody else is headed to the field, and 15 feet from the last vehicle, he pulled breastplate.
Yep.
Wow.
And sometimes we just get it in our mind, I guess, that where you park the vehicles can't be the best spot, but sometimes it is. I've pulled into fields that I pulled into a field that I'd hunted colonial relics at and hunted about an hour and a half and hadn't found anything, and just finally worked my way right back to the car. And just outside the left door, I stepped on them, I guess, whenever I got out. I dug 3 flat buttons. So you just don't ever know, Greg, it sounds like it's going to be a great hunt, and it's a great cause. And, you revealed it here, and we certainly do appreciate it, don't we, Jeff?
We sure do. And then
you guys are like family. You guys are awesome. I always get mad when I find my schedule at work and I have to work Thursday because then I have to go listen to Memorex. I have to listen to it after. But catching in the chat, because most of these folks I've never met, but a lot of them are like family. Like Ohio Relic Hunter Bill, and then the other Bill Hayes, is it?
Bill Hayes. Yeah.
Yep, I mean, and then there's a few others. I'm trying to go through chat here that are always here. I know Ringfinder's in here. I don't know him personally, but same people that always greet you when you come in. You feel welcome in these chats, and that's what makes your show so special.
Well,
you guys.
And I'd watch out
awesome.
for all 3 of them because I've met them all, and they're all a little.
And so I can't forget Swansea. He's my my short cousin there. He's you'll be easy to see me. I'll be the guy that the detector's about as tall as I am. So no, I'm not really that short, but I'm Italian, so I get shorter as I get older. So now I'm like at 5'5" instead of 5'6". So.
Well, Greg, we've got about 2 minutes till close the show out here.
Right.
We certainly do appreciate you coming on. But before we get off, You be sure, and Barb, we're looking forward to talking to you on Thanksgiving night as well. Thanks for the call. Sorry that I had to call you back. And but Greg, if you will tell everybody about your Facebook, your YouTube, websites, anything that will connect them to you or Florida Hunt 6.
That's fine. I'll post it up in the chat. I mean, because the YouTube I think is still under my old acronym. It was North Florida. It was NFHRR. I think I posted it in the chat. I'm going to post it up again here. Hang on. Let's see if it'll let me paste. Okay. I just posted up in the chat, and then Facebook, most people have me on there already, or a lot of folks in here. Let me see if I can pull up the Florida. If you type in Florida Hunt 6, it'll come up, and you won't be able to see much. You'll have to ask to join. Just send me a message if you're from the chat and if you're thinking about coming, because we'll have room. Like I said, we still have some room, but I've got to cycle through people that are on the page just to be on the page, that aren't going to the hunt. Like, there's a bunch of people that I don't know who they are. So we're weeding out the people and then getting the folks on there. But I'm going to post up the group here as well. But again, guys, I want to thank you guys for allowing me on here and letting me do my thing, and everybody for putting up with my talk, my multi-faceted direction of talk. I can talk about one thing and then change direction real quick. So that's fine. My wife's laughing. She's laughing at me in the background because she knows how I am.
Well, I tell you what, we've had one or two guests. We had one guest on this show, and I had a guest on another show that I do. And when you would kind of turn it over to them, they would say, "Yeah," and that's not what we want, is it, Jeff? We want them to talk.
No, it's sure not. We want you to talk as much as you can. That's and especially with the way the internet's been going tonight. So, but yeah, I mean, you've been a great guest.
Yep,
sure.
It's been our honor.
Yep.
And I'll be going live hopefully from there. I'm not sure. I know he has Wi-Fi, so I'm hoping that he'll let me hook into the Wi-Fi so I can go live throughout the day. And maybe people can share finds and on whichever. I'm not sure how I'm going to stream it just yet, but. And I just put it in the chat. I just put the group page up in the chat as well. Okay.
And whatever you do there when the hunt is going on or after it's over with or what have you, you be sure and you post the results and stuff like that on the RELICS Radio Facebook group page, because we've got a good group over there and everybody's interested in seeing all of that stuff. And we will post this show on there when we close it out. But we do appreciate you coming on. And, Jeff, I'll let you have your say. And, Greg, hang on the line. When we close the show, we'll finish out and talk with you off the air.
All right. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that's in the chat. We couldn't do this show without you. Thanks for all the callers we had. And thanks, Greg, for being our guest. And thanks, Mark Hoover, for having you as a guest. And then we sure do miss Mark. But and then God bless, and everyone have a good night.
Okay, appreciate everybody being on here. Appreciate the calls that we had. Don't know, we did have an update on Skype. I may have to restart my computer is what the deal is. But we'll get all that worked out, and we'll be right back here, me and Jeff will, this next Thursday night at 8 o'clock Central. Come and join us. Until then, get out there and dig some history. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on RELICS Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker, or you can catch the archive show at RELICS Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and many other podcast outlets. RELICS Radio is also syndicated on the Cutting Edge Radio Network and is broadcast around the world. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure and follow us so you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. You can also find us on YouTube at Diggin' with 7 or Tennessee Jeff, or you can check us out on our RELICS Radio Facebook group page or Adventures in History on Facebook. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you'll join us next Thursday night. And until then, get out there and dig some history.